listening to Peachtree Corners Live with Rico and Rita, the weekly internet radio show keeping you current on the interests of the people, places, and politics in the city of Peachtree Corners. Be inspired, stay current, and be informed. Visit our website, PeachtreeCornersLive.com, for ways to listen to our broadcast live every week or download our podcast from iTunes.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining me this evening. It's going to be a short evening every month since we've gotten a new partner in Explore Gwinnett. We are doing a top 10 list, and usually we'll release that the first week of the month, and that's our This Week in Peachtree Corners. For the most part, I just want to give you a heads up of what's going on in the coming weeks and guests that are going to be part of our show in the coming weeks. Also, I want to give you some information about following some of the recent podcasts that we've done, some of the live Facebook shows that we've done in the past week or so. So I just, if you're into the Ed Hour, which is what I do with my co-host Alan Kaplan, the show last week had to deal with educational choices. You can find that podcast and the live Facebook video where we've had not multicam, but a video done of the show with three special guests we had that evening, actually that day. And there were moms that represented different educational choices. Alan and I represented the public school system. Our kids have gone through Simpson, Pinckneyville Middle, Peachtree Elementary, Norcross High School, and now I have a kid in Paul Duke High School, STEM. But the other moms, represented charter school, private school, and homeschooling. It was a great hour and plus of informative, really interesting comments about different choices we've made along the way, and in some good inside recommendations and tips. It was a good hour. I think it was very informative, if I can say that, and I believe you should pick it up, listen, podcast, or Facebook Live. You can find the video, if you're not on Facebook, on our page at PeachtreeCornersLife.com. Also, last week I did the monthly show with City Manager Brian Johnson, our prime lunchtime with the City Manager, and we talked an hour about things going on in the city, topics and issues, updates about things like the road repair that's being done at Flippin' Trail, updates on the town green, what will be happening there over the course of the next year or so. So lots going on, 2 podcasts in one day, both Facebook live streamed. A lot of things going there, and I think you should feel free to go out and listen to it. There's good information on both those programs, and more to come, because in the coming months, as you all know, in the next 8 weeks or less, there will be an election, a 2018 election. There are candidates running, quite a few candidates running, it seems, both Democratic and Republican, for different seats. Even though the presidential race is not until 2020, you would almost think it's like that now. We had quite a few candidates running for the congressional seat. I'm looking forward to having, hopefully, on Catherine Bordeaux, the Democratic candidate for this congressional seat representing Peachtree Corners, whose incumbent right now is Bob Woodall, the Republican. And so he's being challenged by a Democratic candidate in Catherine Bordeaux. So we hope to have her on. We're working on a schedule on that. Next week, we will be having Scott Hilton on September the 13th, 8:30 in the evening. It'll be a Facebook live stream, an audio podcast, talking about the issues in the state of Georgia, the things that affect the city of Peachtree Corners. Prior to that, we had the Democratic candidate, Beth Johnson. So she was with us and discussing issues and why she's running for office, and it just made sense to have Scott Hilton, the current incumbent and the Republican in the race, to be on the show, and he will be here on the 13th. With that in mind, obviously, we're looking to have other candidates on, and in fact, several have reached out to me that would like to be on the show. So, in fact, what we're going to be doing is a noontime multi-candidate show on October 11th. This has been put together, and I said Beth Johnson before, by the way. It's Beth Moore. running for District 95, which is the seat that Scott Hilton currently holds. Sorry about that, Beth. But Beth Moore, District 95 candidate, Democratic candidate for that seat. Sally Harrell, the candidate for the Senate District seat, Democratic candidate for Senate District seat 40, also representing Peachtree Corners. And Ben Koo, who is the Democratic candidate for Gwinnett County District Commission District 2, which represents Peachtree Corners along with a big swath of Gwinnett County on this side. So 3 of those Democratic candidates will be with me at noontime on October the 11th, and we'll be talking issues that affect the city of Peachtree Corners from various, obviously from the Senate, from the House, from the County District Commission line. We'll be discussing why they are running, why they feel Democrat should be in any of those positions, and discussing issues with them. So that will be a Facebook live stream along with an audio podcast. So I hope you come back to that. We're going to be adding more shows with regard to candidates before the election. So feel free to listen to the shows, comment on those Facebook live streams, ask your questions, because that is the place to do it. So without further ado, let's put out the top 10 list. I want to thank Explore Gwinnett for being a partner of Peachtree Corners Life and the things that we are doing here. Also, I want to thank Prototype Prime, the city's incubator, for being a partner and sponsor as well, for allowing us to use their podcast studios for these daytime and sometimes evening podcasts, which we may be doing there when we have more than one guest. So I want to thank Prototype Prime for allowing us to use their podcast studios. Great facility. These guys are just phenomenal, and the startups that are building and growing there is unbelievable. In fact, one of them has already taken up a good portion of the second floor above them. They've outgrown the startup space that the incubator has provided, and they'll be up there. And again, thank you again to Explore Gwinnett, which is the county's tourism bureau, essentially. They've done a great top 10 list. This is the second one that we're going to be broadcasting. There'll be one every month again at the top of the month, and there's a video version of this as well if you'd like to see it too. So feel free to listen in. But here you go. Here's the top 10 list for family educational outings.
Hi, welcome to Explore Gwinnett's Top 10. Every month we share with you some of the best places, events, and things to do in Gwinnett, Georgia's largest, most diverse county. Get to feel the small town heart that has a big city soul with hosts Victoria and Rico.
Hi, this is Explore Gwinnett's Top 10 List. We're back here with my co-host, Victoria Hawkins. And today's top 10 is family educational outings. I have a young kid under 15, 2 grown kids, but I would have loved to have known some of these things when they were younger. So let's start off with number 1. I've been there, taken my kid there, GEHC. Tell us about that.
GEHC. That's short for Gwinnett Environmental and Heritage Center. Mm-hmm. And it is exactly as the name says. It's basically a nature center, a museum of kind of all things that are indigenous to Gwinnett. It talks a little bit about the history and the beginnings of Gwinnett. Mm-hmm. It's also Gwinnett's first LEED certified building.
Yes.
So when you pull up to the building, the roof is all green. It looks like it's covered in grass and like all kinds of stuff that comes from the trees.
Right.
But it's actually a part of their structure for their building and their LEED certification.
Isn't that amazing?
It's really, really cool. And when you go inside, you can learn all about their building and how they reclaim water and all those kinds of things. It's a really, really cool place for kids. They do tons of summer camps, nature walks, 5Ks, all kinds of different things that your family would love to do.
And the museum is a bit interactive also, I think. You can do all sorts of things in there.
It is. And they have some permanent exhibits as well as some revolving exhibits.
All right, cool. So constantly changing, so you could come back and see something wholly new.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Number 2 on the list is Rancho Alegre.
Yes. So that's located over in Decula. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of on the outskirts, which you would expect of a farm. Right. Alegre is actually a Spanish word for happiness. Ah. So Pilar, she is actually the owner of the farm. She's awesome. She teaches several workshops throughout the year. Workshops on everything from soap making and making bath products and all natural body products. Also canning and preserving and, vegetable gardens and all kinds of things. Anything you would want to learn in that realm, Rancho Alegre is the place to go.
Excellent.
They also do some family farm adventure days where they have like pony rides and picnics and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun for the little ones, and even older kids would really enjoy the workshops that they offer.
Cool. I like the preserve part of it. It reminds me of my mother-in-law, that she would can all sorts of things. Yeah, neat stuff. You'd have it the rest of the year. Treetop Quest, number 3.
Yes, so Treetop Quest is located in Buford. It's actually on the same campus as GEHC that we talked about just a few moments ago. So it's actually, picture an obstacle course up in the trees. So there's zip lining, there's all kinds of different things to do. And they say it's for ages 3 to 93. So if you have a 3-year-old, they have a smaller version that they can do. But then it's also for adults, because a lot of people think, okay, well, that's something for kids. But it's something for adults, too. Trust me, I've only been able to get to the bottom level for adults. I haven't gone above that. But they have 4 or 5 levels for adults, and it goes up higher each time. So it's really exciting, a lot of fun. Definitely something that your kids will be begging you to go back to again and again.
I'm sure they would be.
Yes.
That is cool. Hopefully no one has vertigo. Number 4, Hudgens Art Center.
Yes, Hudgens Art Center is located in Duluth. So it is Gwinnett's premier art gallery and museum and learning center. So they offer a ton of art classes, everything from sculpture to watercolors, acrylic painting, all sorts of things. Also, they even offer classes in Korean and classes in English.
Really?
Yes, so they're trying to address all the markets here in Gwinnett. So that's really exciting and that's awesome.
That is awesome.
It is. And the best thing about it, free admission.
Really?
Yes, totally free admission.
How can you go wrong with that?
Exactly. What's not to love? So they do revolving exhibits throughout the year. So you can definitely go on their website and see what their newest, latest, greatest exhibit is, but they change it regularly throughout the year. They have a great gift shop there as well. They also list all their classes, summer camps, things like that. So it makes a great family day.
Wow, lots of things to do there. Number 5, halfway through the list, is the Veterans Museum. I didn't know we had one, really.
Yes, we do. We have a Veterans Museum that is dedicated to Gwinnett veterans. So it's located inside the historic courthouse on the square in Lawrenceville. It's run by volunteers. And when you go there, it's so interesting to see 2 or 3 packed rooms full of old uniforms, patches, replicas of different aircraft and things like that. And it's all from people who are local, who have donated these items because they want other people to enjoy it. There's old Army yearbooks and different things like that you can kind of look through and just kind of absorb the history of, these Gwinnetians that have served in the military. So it's really, really cool. And it's always great to talk to the veterans who volunteer at the museum. They love to share stories and talk with people who go. We always at Explore Gwinnett bring people to that museum, journalists and things like that. And there's always, like I said, really interesting people there to talk to.
I'm sure there's lots of great stories to tell.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Buford Community Center and Museum.
Yes. So people might be really familiar with the Buford Community Center. They put on a lot of outdoor concerts and movies, and they host different plays and things like that. And that's all fabulous. They do a great job at that. But a lot of people don't realize that there's also a Buford History Museum located in the same building. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yes, a lot of people don't. So basically, the museum is open 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Thursday through Saturday. And Buford has a really, really rich history in leather making. The Bona Allen family, which when you ride down Main Street in Buford, there's all those big, beautiful homes down at the end of the street. And those all belong to the Bona Allen family, who owned all the leather tanneries right there in downtown Buford.
Wow, never knew that.
Yeah, so you'll learn all that if you go to the museum. So there's a lot of different artifacts like old saddles and old leather making equipment and all kinds of stuff. And it's not just about the tannery. There's also history on folk art. There's a place in downtown Buford called Slotin Folk Art. And people who are into that style of art are pretty familiar with that. They do auctions throughout the year and shows throughout the year for folk artists. So there's a lot of history on that. On Tannery Row Artist Colony, history about that and different artists and things. So it's just a really cool place to go to kind of learn more about Gwinnett and just a lot of things that people don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, this list is probably, out of this list, I mean, some of these things I've never, and I've been here since 95.
Right.
It's amazing how many Gwinnettians don't even know what's in the county.
Exactly.
That's
what we're here for.
Yes. This is perfect. Gwinnett County Public Library has, and I know there's one there, most everyone, lots of things to offer too, right?
Yes. If you don't know, now you know. We have a great library system here in Gwinnett. So a lot of people, when they think of libraries, they think it's so antiquated, old, like they don't really have a need for the library anymore. But our library system has really, really evolved. So in addition to offering, of course, books that you can borrow and bring back, they also have a lot of other workshops and classes. Rico and I were just talking before we started. They have a podcast studio. If you're interested in getting into that, learning about it. They have workshops that teach you how to do podcasts, how to make videos, and then they have the studios where you can actually go in and do it. Another thing that Explore Gwinnett loves is they also have genealogy experts. So everybody's into like Ancestry.com and 23andMe and all those things now. If you want to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of researching your family history, they have staff who are genealogists and experts in different fields, like whether it be Hispanic heritage or African-American heritage, and they will help you in actually tracing your family's history using all the resources at the library.
I never knew that.
A lot of people don't realize
that. That makes a lot of sense, actually. And do you know that you can also borrow books, not just the real books, which I love to read, and even my kids, believe it or not, even my 14-year-old would prefer reading a real book rather than a digital book. But you can get a digital, you can borrow a digital book online. It's really easy, too.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that before, too. My kids have done that. Now, I don't, and they restrict it because you buy a certain amount of digital books, you can only lend a certain amount.
Right.
But you still could do it that way. So they are out there doing that.
Another really good resource they have is a lot of people don't know they have free passes for a couple different large attractions around not just Gwinnett but the Atlanta area. Everybody loves the zoo.
Yeah.
You can actually rent an admission pass to the zoo.
Really?
And I think they have 4 at each library. So if you have a family of 4, you can go to the library and check out the Zoo Atlanta Pass and then go to the zoo. There are a couple of restrictions. You can't go on the weekend.
Okay.
So you have to pick a weekday to go.
Right.
And you can imagine it's a hot commodity.
Yeah.
So you can definitely go online beforehand and see which library has their zoo pass available and then go to that particular library and check it out.
Or is it,
they have a couple other attractions and they list them all online. I just don't
amazing.
know.
I never knew that too. That would make sense. Anything you can borrow.
Exactly. And the zoo's not cheap, so
No,
it's
not.
a great savings.
Yeah. Love that. Now, this next one, number 8, love this place. Been there several times. Southeastern Railway Museum.
Yes. The Southeastern Railway Museum is actually the state's official transportation museum. And it's located right here in Duluth. So when you pull up there, it just kind of looks like an old train yard, and you don't really know what to expect and what's going to be inside.
Right.
But when you go inside, it is so cool.
Yes.
If you like antique stuff or vintage things or just old things or just history, it is an awesome place to go. They have events throughout the year, several different train cars. They have train cars that carried presidents. They have old dining cars. They have old Amtrak trains. They even have MARTA buses from the 1960s. Just all kinds of crazy stuff. They have old school taxi cabs, just kind of anything transportation related. So, kids love that kind of stuff. They also have several old uniforms from, train conductors and things like that, all kinds of table train sets. It's just a really cool place to go. Their events are great. They do like touch a truck events, things like that.
Sure.
But then probably their most popular event is every Christmas they do a Polar Express Express screening. So basically, kids come in their pajamas and all that stuff, and they get on a train car and they watch the Polar Express movie. And while the movie is playing out, whatever's happening in the movie actually happens. So if Santa jumps onto the train in the movie, then that really happens, like a Santa jumps onto the train there. So that's probably one of their events that sells out every single year.
Yeah, that is really cool. Yeah. I know we were there once. I took one of my kids there, and I felt like we were on the Orient Express almost walking through the dining car. I was like, man, this is cool. Love to do that in real life. That is a great place. Number 9, winding down, we're going to the Norcross Museum and Firehouse. Now, I've seen the outside. I haven't been inside yet. I'd love to go.
Okay, you should definitely check it out. So this museum is located right next to the Norcross Welcome Center. So it's a separate building, and if you ever want to go, all you have to do is just call the Welcome Center, and they come and unlock it for you. So it's not just like open. Yeah. So it's like VIP, you know?
Oh, cool.
So you call, and they come and open it for you. So it talks inside the museum. It's actually an old firehouse. There's a huge fire truck in there, so that makes great pictures for Instagram, of course. But it tells a lot about the history of Norcross's fire station and things like that. Also, it tells just kind of general information about Norcross history, about some of the families that have lived there. There's also a baseball museum, because it's kind of weird, but Norcross has produced a lot of...
Norcross baseball,
exactly.
Old-timers,
Yes. So they've produced a lot of professional baseball players and even minor league players. And you can go there and read articles about those different players and see uniforms and even kind of learn the history of some of the street names. Some of the streets are actually named after baseball players.
Who would have thought?
I know. Who
But
knew?
I know the city of Norcross had a lot of great players that came out of this city.
Yes, absolutely.
Last on the list is Suwanee Sculpt Tour.
Yes, Suwanee Sculpt Tour. Suwanee Sculpt Tour is actually mainly based in the Suwanee Town Center area. So they probably have 20 sculptures, and they rotate those every other year. And so basically they put out an RFP to artists all over the country, and artists submit renderings and things like that of what they would like to make, and then they choose about 20 artists. So those artists bring in these huge outdoor sculptures, and there's some really fun and whimsical ones. There's some that actually have movement. There's one called Swinging 2 that's right in front of City Hall that actually, when the wind blows, it sways back and forth. There's one that I love. It's called You'll Shoot Your Eye Out. And it's actually from the old movie, The Christmas Story. And you know the leg lamp?
Yes.
So it's a huge, oversized sculpture of that, you know? So there's some really fun ones. There's Humpty Dumpty, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, wow.
So it's just a lot of fun. And a lot of times it's just surprising to people. They don't expect that when they're going to a city hall and there's like all these outdoor sculptures.
Now there's a fun part to this too, I think, right? Because you can vote on your favorite sculpture, and then at the end of it, what?
The city might buy it. So that is a really cool thing. They have an app that when you go there, you can listen to the app and learn all about the process of how the artist created that particular piece. Then you go online and you vote for your favorite, and hopefully the city will buy that piece at the end of the 2 years. So they have a couple pieces that they have on permanent display, but most of them change out regularly.
Wow. This was a great list, actually. I love this last part also. We do this every month, a top 10 list with Explore Gwinnett's Victoria Hawkins. This is a great way to find out what's going on, and every list has a different thing. Check out the date nights list that was done a month ago, and you'll find some great places to take your better half or your friends to as a group date. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
Join us every month for Explore Gwinnett's Top 10 list on the Peachtree Corners Life podcast and website. See you next time.